More than 1,800 communities in Ghana are said to be facing the same problem as the people in Paologo. Now, the Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communications, GIFEC, is mandated to provide financial resources for the establishment of universal service and access for all communities and facilitate the provision of basic telephony, internet, multimedia, broadband and broadcasting services. In February 2016, GIFEC promised to construct 80 rural telephony sites nationwide before the end of that year. Sometime January 2017, we told you it rolled out 54 rural telephony projects, those RTP sites, to help extend the coverage of wireless mobile telephone services to the rural communities. The RTP extends the coverage of mobile telephone services into areas where access to such services is not adequately available and where existing licensed operators have proven unwilling or unable to expand their networks due to commercial or other constraints. Now, Abraham Kofi Asante is currently the administrator and CEO of GIFEC. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Welcome.
So how far have we come with the provision of basic telephony for the people of this republic?
Thank you very much for this opportunity. First, let me indicate to you that GIFEC has got a mandate for rural telephony or for basic telephony for underserved areas. We also have the mandate to provide internet connectivity. We also develop broadcasting. And in doing so, we have a lot of considerations that we have, like we do capacity building in ICTs, and we also connect schools to the internet. Now, with respect to rural telephony, when we assumed office in 2017, we had only 117 rural connectivity sites.
Out of
the lot. Quickly, we set the ball rolling by identifying areas that are underserved or unserved. And so far, with the desktop investigations that we did, we identified about 1,800, and that's the figure that you mentioned. And in 2017, from June to December, we're able to deploy 199 sites. So if you compare what we did in 6 months, 199, to what was done from 2005 to 2016, which was only 117, then it means that a lot has been done. And in 2018, we have earmarked to also cover 400 communities. As of now, 200 are at various stages of completion, which tells you that we are moving further. Our plan is for us to do a coverage of not less than 98% of these rural communities by the end of 2019. And therefore, we are on course, among other engagements or mandates that we have on our hands.
What is the basis for determining which community to serve first?
The basis for determining which community to serve first depends on whether there would be a feed, what we call a donor site. So if there's a donor site which can be deployed, then we provide connectivity for those communities. But let me tell you, these communities that we are providing services to are not communities that are attractive for the telcos in the first place. And for that matter, we need to give them the support and the incentive for them to move in. GIFEC does the acquisition and also have discussions with the telcos and even private investors. Now we have drawn a model which is making us move faster. Previously, most of the GIFEC projects which were supposed to have enjoyed tax exemptions were all undergoing tax because it was not activated by the management. Now we have activated that, which has given us also room for us to do varied projects, and the number of communities that are benefiting are more. You will just acknowledge that it's quite for a big number of coverage if you could do 199 sites within 6 months. And like I mentioned, hitherto, for 9 years, only 117 was done. So the model that we have now is to accelerate the process of coverage.
And these donor sites you talk about are given by the telcos?
Yeah, they are given. The donor sites are sites that are already existing by the telcos. So we identify them. And when we don't have a donor site, GIFEC makes an intervention. We build a tall tower of about 80 meters, and then we deploy as such.
But we're made to believe that GIFEC receives 1%
Yes.
of the revenue of all these telcos.
Yes.
To fund the work that you do. Has that been coming forth?
Yeah, it has been coming forth. It has been coming forth. They provide 1% of what they have. And currently we have MTN, we have Tigo, we have Airtel. Glo has not been contributing for some time now.
But Vodafone?
Vodafone is contributing, yeah. Vodafone is also there. So the telcos are contributing, and it is from these resources that we provide interventions that we have for the rural communities, or what we call universal access to telecommunication.
This fund you receive from the telcos, is it enough?
It's not enough. I must be very, if you look at the gap that we have, we need to have more. So we are even making proposals if we could get some expansion in terms of the revenue that we need for the job.
When you say expansion, is it from government or to move beyond the 1% that the telcos have to give?
Yeah, I think in other jurisdictions, in other countries, it's more than 1%. But we need to talk to them because the telcos are also doing their bit. And if we look at the models that we have put in place, even with the involvement of the private sector in the delivery of services, I think that by the grace of God, maybe by the year 2020, we might have covered, like I mentioned, a greater portion. If not 100%, would have gotten closer to 98%, as I mentioned.
Apart from financing your work, what have been the other challenges?
Apart from financing, I think the other challenges that we have is in acquisition of sites. You know, we have to go to the communities to explain to them why they need to release sites for us to deploy. And also, we need to also get the telcos also coming on board and taking a large chunk of the numbers that we propose to them. Sometimes some telcos are not willing to be part of the program as we so wish, and you realize that they may be patronizing for very few sites, but discussions are going on. I believe that once we sit at the table and we draw the models and they find them to be attractive, they would also come on board and will be able to move in an accelerated fashion.
Why are these telcos not being part of the program?
Like I mentioned to you, these places are not attractive in terms of profit making. So though the gaps may be closed, but in the long term, they feel that they may not be benefiting so much. But we need to look at how incentives could be given, what reliefs could be given in such areas where there are so much challenges in terms of profit making. And I believe that they'll come on board. It's a matter of having some kind of conversation.
I'm sure we all appreciate the importance of telephony in this modern world. When the Minister of Communication was being vetted, one of the key areas that she touched on, or she had to respond to, was with regards to black holes on our highways, especially when people have emergency situations. And some of these rural areas find themselves along the stretch of highways. That's why I was asking, what is your priority in terms of what you look out for to go to a community first?
Yeah, we looking at those on the highways is part of the agenda. But let me tell you also that we have got plans of seeking for government mandate for us to deploy what we call aerial fiber. Fiber along the power lines. We think that if we're able to deploy fiber along the power lines, we'll be able to get much coverage. Because in this country, more than 80% of the country is covered by electricity. Electricity poles go everywhere, so that we'll be able to provide both data and voice in a very in a more effective way. So it is one of the things that we are looking at. And despite the fact that we have a current program that is covering these holes along the highways, we think that this would bring a more faster approach in our deployment.
So this community that my colleague did the feature on in the Wa East municipality, when will your outfit reach them where they are?
Yeah, let me mention here that, you know, in the manifesto of the NPP, we're supposed to deliver in terms of rural coverage. We are translating our manifestos into results. In the district that you mentioned, that is Wa East, we are already in that district, and we have covered places like Bairi, Manwe, Kulipong, Kundungu. We have covered all these places. Even currently, we are building a site at Kuripi. The area that was mentioned, that is the Paulugu, is an area that we have already surveyed. We've done the drive tests. We are doing the simulation. The same thing happens to a place there called Hulumni. We've done the drive test and we are doing the simulation. They have been put in batches, and we are very sure that it is part of the 4th batch of deployment. We've done the 1st batch deployment, we've done the 2nd batch, the 3rd batch is in progress. And in the 4th batch, which may happen by the close of this year or early next year, I can assure you that Kolewogu will be covered.
And the many other communities around Ghana that don't have access, what would you like to tell them, even as we wrap up this conversation?
I want to assure them that we are looking at 2019 as the time that will cover a lot of the areas. Even as I talk to you right now, when you go to Western region, you cover a lot of places. Like Sumpre in the Western region is covered. Atobra Krom is covered in the Western region. If you go to Northern region, you have got Enyinaman, which is covered, Kolipi, Gamboy. All those places have been covered. But the fact is that we need to do total coverage before the people will know, or they can enjoy telephony in terms of both experience and coverage. And I can assure them that with the rate that we are going, 2019, 2020, we would have done much extensive coverage of about 98%.
We'll be back to assess your work by 2019. Thank you so much for joining us.
We are ready for the assessment.
Abraham Kofi Asante is CEO of GEFEC, and we've been talking about rural telephony in Ghana.